My name's Kevin Martin. I'm here with Andy Musa, two of the team members of the Lake Erie Regional Grape Program for our weekly podcast, and we're going to update you on some of the costs of controlling Grape Berry Moth as we get closer to the 810 growing degree days and growers start to think about those management decisions.
Now, Kevin, as far as some of the materials, we have quite a few insecticides that work on grape berry moth. I mean, what do you look at as from the business management standpoint that growers should consider when they're going to choose an insecticide?
I think you guys talk a lot about the importance of scouting, and I think also scouting, one of the reasons to scout is so to allow you to think critically about your chemical choices. Insecticides vary widely in price from material to material. So we actually do have somewhat effective pesticides that are less than $10 an acre, and they're a little bit older. They're a little bit less effective than some of the newer modes of action, but you could be getting towards $30 or $35 an acre with some of those newer chemicals. So you want to make sure that that investment is worthwhile, and you actually do need those more expensive chemicals. And we have a lot of growers who do need those and don't know it because they might not necessarily do enough scouting.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of times growers just look at the cost of materials, and I've had growers say that to me a lot. That this costs 3 times more. How would you go about explaining to them why they should use some of these other materials?
I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but you did some work with some of the most severe sites we've sort of ever observed in Pennsylvania. And you used bracketed spraying, so you had multiple sprays for a single generation of berry moth, and you did that over multiple generations. And even in a situation like that, including the cost of actually going through and making that spray application, you're still coming in at less than $160 per acre sprayed, so that you're still talking about less than 1 ton of grapes going towards the cost of that insecticide control. And that example, I think is what you were seeing that's the most severe risk areas where we're not really talking about saving some of the crop and losing some of the crop. We're actually just trying to get the fruit clean enough to get to the plant. So you're really saving the entirety of your crop.
The other thing, when we say make a spray application, berry moth is a lot of times worse on the borders, near wooded areas. When you talk to a grower, do you bring that up as far as, you don't have to spray your whole block, you may only have to spray a portion? And how do you go about talking to them about that?
Right, and I think that's why I really focus on the number of acres or the cost per acre sprayed, because berry moth in particular, a lot of growers sort of tend to spot spray for it when they have the opportunity to do that and just hit the hot spots, which may be a whole block or a part of a block, but certainly it's often case not the entire farm, especially for multiple generations or bracketing sprays over multiple generations. And a lot of our growers get very good control over berry moth, where they actually do have berry moth problems for $30 or $40 an acre, because they don't necessarily have to be that intensive about it. And if they ignore the problem, we have seen where that medium risk vineyard suddenly becomes a high or very high risk vineyard, and then you're looking at spending something more like $150 to $200 per acre, not just to control loss, but to actually salvage the crop from year to year. There are a lot of different ways to manage berry moth that have very different costs that relate to sort of the amount of risk and amount of damage that you're seeing in the vineyard.
And one last before we end today, I guess we have very little time left. So in that time we do, what about resistance management and the problem with resistance, and actually how that actually could cost you more, even though you might be using this cheaper material now, it might cost you more in the long run?
Yeah, I think the problem with sort of ignoring resistance issues is that insecticides seem to be relatively slow to develop. We haven't had a new one for grape berry moth in a little while in New York, and other than Intrepid in Pennsylvania, it's been a little while there as well. So I could see down the road where a grower would just have issues of not having access to affordable chemicals if they abused a particular class of chemicals. But also, that being said, there's a wide range of prices for these insecticides. So using 2 of them or using one of them over and over again, either you're not going to get good enough control, or you're going to be over investing in what a chemical cost should be, because you should try to keep it as affordable as you can while still maintaining effective control. And rotating gives you the added bonus of resistance management. So you really, you kill two birds with one stone, or two berry moth with one stone.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thanks a lot, Andy. If you have any questions or comments about berry moth or other podcasts that you'd like, video blogs that you'd like us to do, comment in the section below. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Thank you.